In a time where knowledge and education has become so dependent in order to be successful, it is disheartening to realize that while some of us are provided a quality education, others are not. This consequential divide is obvious when looking at the amount of money funded for schools serving minorities versus schools serving whites. A student's social class and household income should not be the main factors that determine a minority student's success. Students who attend lower funded schools must work much harder because they are not afforded the proper learning resources. Emory-Wheeler University did a study in North Carolina and found that counties with the highest spending on education spent nearly $3,000 per student, while countries with the lowest spending spent $800 per student. Schools across the United States that serve to a minority students are poorly funded and cannot provide the necessary resources for an effective learning environment. Analysis of school finance data in Alabama, New York, New Jersey, Texas, and Louisiana showed that schools serving a greater amount of minority students had fewer resources than schools serving white students. Many people living in Connecticut feel that the education funding system is unconstitutional since some schools fund nearly $6,000 more per student than low-income districts. Minority and low-income students are negatively affected by disparities in school funding. The schools they attend receive less money per student, resulting in less qualified teachers, outdated textbooks, and overpopulated classrooms. The lack of funding keeps these people institutionalized because they aren't afforded an equal opportunity. School funding has big implications whether a student will receive a quality education. Students who attend charter schools will score lower on standardized tests because the schools they receive no public aid from the state to help improve its facilities. Instead of using taxpayers' money like public schools, charter schools must rely on the money that they fund and the statewide average of the operation that the state gives to them. Charter schools are expected to have the same aspects of a public school system, but provided less money to fund for better facilities. Having to allocate part of their funds to having quality facilities leads to less money spent on having good resources for students. The National Assessment of Educational Progress has shown that students attending charter schools scored lower on every individual assessment and content portion. In today's world, education is crucial to a person's success. A child's parents' socioeconomic status has big implications on how strong their science, math, and reading skills are. Many new opportunities for science-related jobs have developed, and with minorities receiving a poor education only adds fuel to the fire for long-term effects. There must be an emphasis to prevent these socioeconomic effects from an early age, since disparities in achievement are noticeable early on. Regarding a scientific achievement, a study was done by the International Journal of STEM Education to find that 4th, 8th, and 12th graders that had lower socioeconomic statuses scored 69%, 97%, and 65% standard deviations below with students with a higher socioeconomic status. A person's income, occupation, and health are considered when determining their socioeconomic status. A higher status correlates with being healthier since people with a lower socioeconomic status tend to become ill more often and live shorter lives. When minorities aren't receiving the proper education, it begins to negatively structure their lives since they're not being educated in order to earn a well-paying job. It starts to become institutionalized when parents can't afford to give their children the proper education they need, which leads them to a lower socioeconomic status for the rest of their lives. To think that we have an equal opportunity in this world is ridiculous. Starting at a young age, the effects of students living in low-income households is clear when they're in overcrowded classrooms, being taught by unqualified teachers, and lack the adequate resources to receive a quality education.